Welcome back to Love on the Rocks. We have breaking news in the Suzanne Simpson missing person case. The arrest warrant charging Brad Simpson, husband of Suzanne Clark Simpson, of murder has been unsealed by a Bexar County judge and made public. It paints a detailed and disturbing picture of Brad Simpson's suspicious movements in the hours and days after his wife's disappearance, which led investigators to charge him with murder without finding his wife's body.
Yeah, this case has really gripped San Antonio, and for good reason.
Absolutely. So a quick recap for those of you who are new to this story. Suzanne and Brad were last seen at a party
At a private club.
called the Argyle, and witnesses say they saw them fighting.
Yes, and later that night, a neighbor of theirs reported hearing a pretty bad fight outside the house. They described it as, hearing some struggling and arguing, and then at one point, they saw Suzanne try to run away. Brad caught up to her, and the neighbor said the last they saw of them, they were going into a wooded area, and then all they heard after that were screams coming from that wooded area.
It's so scary that someone witnessed that. So initially, Brad told police that Suzanne had lost her phone.
Yeah, he claimed she had lost it at an HEB earlier that evening.
But when investigators looked into that, they found that he had actually suspended service to her phone himself that night. That same night. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah, why would he do that? It starts to, make his story seem less credible.
And in addition to that, their 5-year-old daughter told her school counselor that she had seen her dad hitting and pushing her mom.
Yeah, that adds another layer of concern, right? Because now we're talking about potential domestic violence.
And then the day after Suzanne disappeared, surveillance cameras caught Brad dropping his daughter off at school, and there were 2 white trash bags and a large ice chest in the bed of his truck that weren't there the day before.
Yeah, where did those come from? What was in them? It just adds to that suspicion.
Right? And then later that day, he's seen at a Whataburger in Bernie. And now there's even more in his truck bed. There was a large trash can and a large item that was wrapped in a blue tarp hidden under a firewood rack.
Yeah, clearly trying to conceal something. Makes you wonder what he was trying to hide.
Exactly. And then it gets even weirder. He goes to Home Depot and buys cement, heavy-duty trash bags, a bucket of bleach, and insect repellent.
And pays for it all in cash. So again, what is he doing with these items? It's not hard to start, coming up with scenarios.
Right. And after that, he asks a stranger for directions to the nearest dump. And those white trash bags are gone from his truck after he visits. And then after that, he's seen driving to his property in Bexar County. And when he returns, the blue tarp is missing.
So again, he seems to be very deliberately trying to dispose of evidence, separate locations. It doesn't look good.
And to make things look even worse, investigators noticed that throughout the day, he was constantly turning his phone on and off.
Which they believe was a tactic to avoid being tracked. So he's clearly trying to stay off the grid. So, his behavior is becoming increasingly suspicious.
Very much so. And then it takes a really dark turn when investigators search Brad's property in Bexar County. They found a burn site with the remains of 3 cell phones and a laptop.
Oh, destroying evidence. That's not a good sign. Classic move, right? Trying to get rid of anything that could incriminate him. Photos, messages, whatever. Big question is what was on those devices.
I was just going to ask that. What did they find?
Well, they were able to recover 2 notes, one titled This Next Life, and the other one titled Last Will and Testament. And these notes, they contain confessions.
Confessions to what?
To assaulting Suzanne. He admits to assaulting Suzanne on 2 separate occasions. One in August of 2023.
Wow.
And then again on the night that she disappeared.
So it really seems like at this point, all the evidence is pointing towards Brad.
Yeah, it does paint a pretty damning picture. But we have to remember there's another side to this story.
There's Suzanne's side of the story and what she was going through.
Yeah, and her personal banker actually gave some really important testimony. Yeah, she said that Suzanne had confided in her about the abuse that she was facing from Brad.
It's so sad that she was going through all that.
Yeah, and she had even told her banker that she was afraid that she might disappear.
My gosh.
She had even given her a specific location to search if anything happened to her.
What was that?
Yeah, she said, if something happens to me, look at a lake.
Have they been able to find anything?
As of right now, no, they haven't found Suzanne's remains. But her family, they're clinging to hope. They're saying that they don't believe that Suzanne would ever willingly abandon her children.
That's so sad. So Brad has been charged with murder, even though they haven't found her body.
Yeah, it's rare, but it does happen.
How so?
Well, in this case, the police are basing their charges on the strength of the circumstantial evidence. They feel like they've built a really strong case. All the witness testimonies, the surveillance footage, his behavior, the confession, all of that kind of comes together to paint a picture.
It does seem like a lot of evidence. So do you think they have a strong case?
It's hard to say for sure, right? Ultimately, it's up to a jury. But the evidence laid out in that affidavit, it does seem pretty compelling.
Yeah.
They have a timeline of his movements, the confession, and it all kind of points to his involvement.
It does seem that way.
But we have to remember that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We have to let the legal process play out and hope that justice is served.
Thank you for joining us. We will continue to keep close tabs on this fascinating story. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we can bring you further developments regarding this case and the other cases we are currently tracking. And please like this video. It helps us in our efforts to bring you these tragic yet mesmerizing true life stories.